sex offender.
So Bad Bunny won't get paid for the Super Bowl. Oh.
Do you guys know what sane washing is? It's when somebody says something crazy, and someone else tries to make it sound less crazy what the person said, usually by misrepresenting the crazy thing that somebody said. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt just tried to do that with something President Trump said on Monday when he suggested that Republicans should take over voting in 15 places where he traditionally has lost so that Republicans, and maybe him, can win. Let me show you how it works. Here's a comment that President Trump made on a podcast on Monday.
The Republicans should say, we want to take over, we should take over the voting in at least
I go back to
many 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting.
So that would be unconstitutional. The U.S. Constitution says that the states are in charge of how they administer and count the votes in federal elections. But regardless of that, Caroline Leavitt earlier today suggested the president was merely advocating for this national legislation called the SAVE Act. Here she is.
What the president is suggesting, and I just spoke to him about
A lot of
this,
pressure
is that
coming on
Republicans and Democrats
for
in
that.
Congress should pass the Save America Act.
Sane
This
watches.
piece of legislation is
Everybody,
going to
all the way
ensure
to when no one
that
noticed
states
that.
are abiding by federal
In
election law
2012.
by removing non-citizens from their voter rolls.
that could be.
In addition, the Save America Act will require voter ID to vote, and it will
That could be
require
one to the
proof of
money.
citizenship to register to vote.
And that-
So yeah, the president is pushing for that legislation, but that's not what he was talking about in that podcast on Monday. And in fact, when our own
Maybe
Caitlin
mind
Collins
control,
asked the
sane
president what he
Good
was
deal.
talking about and what the 15 places were, he didn't even mention the SAVE Act or national
Sane watches to
legislation.
the fine now.
He talked specifically about, in his view, all the corrupt
the
elections
fine
in these
management of TV.
Democratic-leaning or battleground areas.
some of the
And he
managers,
even
like the White House managers,
specifically
so
cited
broad.
some of the places where he thought
Right,
Republicans should
I
take
don't
over
get paid
elections. Take a listen.
for the Super Bowl joke of smoking in the beginning. It was Elon Musk, Larry Spinners billionaire, and then he said about that Bad Bunny is not getting paid for the Super Bowl show, commercial show. But he did do the show, okay?
Take a look at Atlanta. Look
Now
at
look
some
at
of the
Trump.
places that
Trump is not doing the show
horrible
anymore.
corruption on
Same
elections.
watch.
Now, look, I'm sure it is much easier to defend legislation than it is to
Legislation for
defend
sin
President
washing,
Trump
say.
suggesting that Republicans should seize control of the voting
Or you must
in
attempt to sane
15
watch.
battleground or Democratic
that
areas. But that doesn't
control.
make it
Attempt
True.
at
just like it doesn't make it true to
Then
claim
you're
that
spread.
President Trump did not mix up Greenland
Wow,
and
yeah,
Iceland
that.
when
Important
3
people
different
are very
times he called Greenland.
And we use the term
Iceland.
explicit instead of.
Do you guys know what sane washing is? It's when